pulled items. We have 4 pulled items, 3, 49, 69, and 76. So we will start with item 3. And Councilmember Ryan Alter, you pulled this one.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem. I just have a couple quick questions for the Director, Austin Resource, just to get a little context on this item. This is the item about their administrative rule change and them coming before council or not. My first question for you is, we talked a little bit before this meeting about the additional administrative efforts that y'all go through in order to bring it before the boards and commissions and council. And I was wondering if you could just talk about what additional work you see under the current process that you would avoid if we made this change.
Sure. Thank you for the question. Councilmember Richard McHale, Director for Austin Resource Recovery. Our process to change our administrative rules are different from other departments. So our process is more like amending code. So we follow a process where we will draft the rules. We will then convene internal and external stakeholders to gather input, make any modifications based on that. And then that is then presented to our Zero Waste Advisory Commission for their recommendation of approval to council. And then we would schedule a council meeting for that approval. As opposed to the other process that other departments use that have administrative duties, whereas they would just have a public process of posting for 31 days, accept comments, answer those questions.
And can you talk a little bit about the nature of the rules we're talking about? What types of changes would we see here?
Sure. So the director's rules for Austin Resource Recovery basically are how we implement the policy. So we're talking about, the code says that ARR will collect solid waste for the city, and so the rules kind of talk about, okay, we will pick up recycling, we will pick up trash. So that kind of goes down in the detail there. So items included in the administrative rules for Chapter 15 include service schedules. Talks about our core services such as recycling, brush pickup, garbage pickup, other core services such as our household hazardous waste facility and our recycling programs. There's a section on fees in there, what we can charge for fees, cart sizes, materials accepted. So those are some of the things that are included in the administrative rules.
Okay. And then looking kind of at the other side of the coin, while they're, you described the additional hassle, and I can certainly appreciate that. Since this rule has been in place, have you ever had a proposal that has gotten to council that was ultimately not approved? So while maybe you had extra work, ultimately, have you ever not been successful with the current process?
Councilmember, I can't speak for the history of since this has been in place since that was 2012, and I wasn't nearly as involved as I am now in the situation. But I do know if we've had 4 over probably the past 10 years changes, I think all of those were successful. But I know that those were major items. Those were talking about the universal recycling ordinance and some of the larger policy type things. A lot of the changes that we still need to make, though, are more of the administrative details. So, for instance, as we look to go to an on-call bulk and brush collection, we're going to change our number of times we collect from 2 times to more than that, probably 3 times, looks like. So that would be an administrative change that we would have to make in our rules, and that under the current process, we would have to go through SWAC and then the council to change that number from 2 to 3.
Okay. Very good. Well, I was hoping for a little more context, and you've provided it today, so thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yes, Councilmember Kelly.
Yeah, I was just hoping, and thank you very much. Sorry to get you as you're leaving. I was hoping to just get a better idea of why we need to align with the other departments in this regard, because I don't think that was in the backup, and I'd like to get a better understanding of that.
Ultimately, Councilmember, comes down to how quick we can implement some of the policies that come out of this group. The big change really is that process of how we introduce this to the public. So we're looking at the current process other city departments utilize that have administrative rules. That's a 31-day posting period, whereas ours is more of an internal and external stakeholder meeting schedule. So depending on how complex the issue is, like the universal recycling ordinance, instead of a 31-day comment period, our internal and external stakeholder meetings lasted for approximately 7 months.
Okay, so in regards to your internal and external stakeholder process, you're telling me that that went on for 7 months? Could you tell
For the
me?
URO, the feedback and setting up meetings with the public and the hauling community, just so we have all the players and all the voices at the table.
And what are some of those voices that were at the table? Because
Primarily through the current process, it's primarily the hauling community. We really don't get a lot of public input. We do get some comments from SWAC, but primarily the folks that show up, at least at the Zero Waste Advisory Commission meetings, are primarily the hauling community.
Okay, so is there any way that we could see some of that feedback that they provided to you before Thursday? I think that would be helpful in making a decision on how we're going to vote on this item.
Feedback from the URO.
Yes, through the process that you said with the stakeholders.
I can certainly gather that was many years ago. We can certainly do some digging on that.
Okay, so was there a recent stakeholder process? I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm confused.
Yeah, we
because-
did actually. I think our most recent one was back in 2022 when we came to this body there was a conflict between some of the language in the rules and the code where it wasn't consistent. So we came to address that. So that was the most recent one that we had.
But on this item in specific, was there a stakeholder process? It sounds like there were previously, unless you made the decision to create this change based on that feedback from 2022. I'm just trying to figure out, I'm hearing from stakeholders in the community that are saying that they were not informed of this and they were not talked to about this change. And so I'm trying to find out where that disconnect is.
About this change to the code?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, this was brought up at our SWAC meeting.
Okay.
So.
Was there any other external input?
No, this just came up at our SWAC meeting where we introduced it last week.
So then my next question is that if we were to postpone this item and request that you do some external stakeholder feedback in relation to it, would it have any effect on what you all are trying to accomplish?
No, we could still effectively do the same thing at a later point.
Okay. Is there a situation you see where some of that external feedback may put you in a different direction in regards to moving forward with this item?
If you're asking me if there's anything that will be delayed because of us pushing this item, no.
Okay. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Allison Alter.
So you mentioned that it was brought up at the Zero Waste Commission. Was it voted on by them?
It was 1-7, 1 for, 7 against, changing the amendment.
So I just have one question for you, Mr. McHale. Even if we don't specify ZWAC as a body for you to take your administrative rule changes to or your procedural changes to, you would still go to that body? Is that correct?
Yeah, so what our process would be is I would submit any changes, any potential amendments to the rules in the director's report that I would submit to our Zero Waste Advisory Commission. And if we were following the current process, the way other departments would, at that point then, we would initiate the 31-day comment period. So SWAC would not only have the changes before that 31-day comment period starts, but they'd be able to have input on both the SWAC meeting and during the public comment period.
And we would be able to affect the changes in a more efficient manner, saving some time, which also translates into savings on our budget and our staff time.
Exactly. Because one of the changes that we're looking to make right now is a time that we ask folks to set their carts out. I'm wanting to move that up a little bit. So as we get towards May in the heat of the summer, we want our crews to be able to work out there a little bit earlier and be out of the heat. So that is one of the type of changes that I'd like to be able to make without having to go through council for approval.
And I know that that is a specific that we have grappled with on this dais, and that is the physical safety and health of the drivers, for example, who are driving the trucks around and loading up the carts. I will tell my colleagues that I dug into this when I was contacted by representative for the haulers, or one hauler, and I challenged him to tell me why we shouldn't make this change that is being recommended by the staff. And the what I've come away from in my investigation, there is not a compelling reason to deny staff's request here. That's basically where I stand on this particular issue. Are there any additional questions on this one? All right, great.
Thank you.